Today, social media platforms represent an incredibly rich and constantly updated source of information, not only for everyday users, but also for those of us who are part of the press and the motorsport media industry. Journalists, commentators, and writers regularly gather inspiration from the debates and conversations that take place online. Even the most heated arguments and discussions often provide us with valuable starting points for articles, editorials, and in-depth pieces. Sometimes it takes only a single phrase or even just the mention of the word Ferrari to ignite enough interest to begin an entire discussion and to trigger the creation of content. One of the catchphrases that has been circulating more and more often in recent years on social media, blending the world of Formula One with that of football, is the statement, "Ferrari has become the Manchester United of F1." At first glance, this line may look like nothing more than a throwaway comment, a typical exaggeration from the virtual world of the internet. However, the more frequently it is written and repeated, the more weight it seems to carry, and the more real the comparison starts to feel. The key question then becomes, is it actually fair to compare two of the most iconic, globally recognized, historically successful, and financially powerful brands in sport? The team from Maranello has endured several distinct periods of crisis, despite its unique and legendary status in the history of Formula One. Following the golden age of Michael Schumacher between 1999 and 2004, when the German driver secured 5 consecutive drivers' championships and Ferrari added 6 constructors' titles, the Scuderia entered long and difficult stretches without glory. That era had set standards that appeared almost unreachable, and in comparison, the following years often seemed like a shadow of that dominance. After securing its last constructor's crown in 2008, Ferrari began to struggle against rivals who were rising to prominence. First, it was Red Bull Racing, who dominated with Sebastian Vettel between 2010 and 2013, and later Mercedes, who established one of the most dominant eras in the history of Formula One with Lewis Hamilton and Nico Rosberg. The 2009 Ferrari was a car that proved uncompetitive from the start, and despite recruiting Fernando Alonso, one of the most talented and determined drivers of his generation, the Scuderia only came close to winning the championship in 2010 and again in 2012. Both times, they fell short due to a mix of strategic errors, development shortcomings, and moments where luck was not on their side. This era was also defined by technical instability and controversial management decisions. Alonso's eventual departure from Ferrari symbolized a moment of disillusionment, as even one of the greatest talents of modern Formula One could not bring the team back to the top. Later, with Sebastian Vettel joining Ferrari and leadership shifts taking place, from Maurizio Arrivabene to Mattia Binotto, the team once again experienced glimpses of hope. Vettel fought hard against Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes in 2017 and 2018, but both campaigns ended in disappointment. Costly driver errors, questionable race strategies, and the infamous controversy surrounding Ferrari's 2019 power unit, followed by investigations and restrictions imposed by the FIA, led to a dramatic collapse in 2020. That season marked Ferrari's worst performance since 1980, with the team finishing only 6th in the Constructors' Championship, a result that shocked the fan base and the wider Formula One community. Even with Charles Leclerc, a driver seen as one of the brightest talents of his generation, and Carlos Sainz, who joined to form a strong partnership, Ferrari has continued to battle against reliability issues and repeated strategic mistakes. Since 2008, neither the driver's title nor the Constructors' Championship has returned to Maranello. Pressure from the Tifosi, who demand victories simply because you are Ferrari, has amplified every failure and every setback. The recurring crises are usually attributed to a combination of chaotic internal management, lack of long-term technical consistency, and difficulty in adapting quickly to regulatory changes within Formula One. On the football side, Manchester United entered its own prolonged period of decline after the retirement of Sir Alex Ferguson. Ferguson's reign lasted almost 30 years, from 1986 until 2013, and during that time he transformed Manchester United into a global powerhouse, delivering 13 Premier League titles and 2 UEFA Champions League trophies, along with a host of domestic cups and other honors. When Sir Alex Ferguson stepped down in 2013, the club struggled to rediscover its identity and sense of direction. Successors such as David Moyes, Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and more recently Erik ten Hag, all attempted to steer the club back towards its former heights. Despite these efforts, Manchester United has managed only minor silverware in the form of the Europa League in 2017 and 2 FA Cups, one in 2016 and one in 2024. Crucially, however, the team has never returned to being a true and consistent contender for the Premier League or the Champions League. Their last league title dates back to the final season under Ferguson in 2013. This decline has been defined by a series of poor decisions in the transfer market, managers who were unable to meet the high expectations, and an ownership structure under the Glazer family that has been heavily criticized. Many supporters argued that the American owners have prioritized financial performance and global commercial growth over footballing success. Fans have grown increasingly frustrated as inconsistent performances on the pitch and a lack of tactical coherence became the norm. At Old Trafford, known as the Theatre of Dreams, the weight of history and the pressure from supporters mirrors the pressure at Ferrari's headquarters in Maranello. Manchester United fans demand constant success, and every season without major trophies only serves to intensify frustration and disappointment. Ferrari and Manchester United both live under the immense shadow of their glorious pasts. For Ferrari, failing to win either the Drivers' or Constructors' Championship is viewed as an unacceptable failure. For Manchester United, not fighting for the Premier League or Champions League titles is seen in the same way. These immense expectations frequently lead to rushed decisions, whether in the form of frequent changes of team principals and drivers in Formula One, or managerial sackings and tactical overhauls in football. Ferrari has endured a succession of leadership changes, moving from Luca Cordero di Montezemolo to Sergio Marchionne, and currently under John Elkann. In the sporting structure, Maurizio Arrivabene, Mattia Binotto, and now Frédéric Vasseur have all taken turns as team principal, with internal struggles and political maneuvering often distracting from the racing. Manchester United, meanwhile, has battled with an ownership group widely regarded as distant and uninterested in footballing matters, with inconsistent technical and sporting choices undermining long-term planning. At Old Trafford, protests against the Glazer family ownership have been a regular sight, while Ferrari's fan discontent has been channeled mostly through social media. On these platforms, supporters frequently criticize John Elkann for his perceived lack of involvement in day-to-day team affairs compared to predecessors such as Luca di Montezemolo, who was visibly connected to the racing side of the Scuderia. Both Ferrari and Manchester United have also lived through false dawns. Ferrari appeared to be capable of mounting a serious championship challenge in 2017 and 2018, but ultimately fell short at critical moments, with Lewis Hamilton and Mercedes prevailing. Manchester United, under Jose Mourinho and Erik ten Hag, also showed flashes of potential, but were unable to maintain consistency. The frustration of these cycles of hope and disappointment is heightened by the fact that both organizations are more than simply teams. Ferrari's prancing horse is a symbol of Italian pride and identity, while Manchester United is a global footballing institution. Fans remain fiercely loyal, but the sense of disillusionment is tangible. Even some of the top-level drivers and world-class footballers who joined these iconic institutions, tempted by prestige, the allure of history, and lucrative contracts, ended up leaving disappointed. They often moved on to less prestigious but more stable and successful environments, unable to fulfill their dream of restoring Ferrari or Manchester United to the very top. Despite the similarities, there are clear differences. Ferrari competes in the narrower, highly specialized environment of Formula One, where each season consists of a defined number of races, each result carrying immediate and visible consequences. A poor race strategy is instantly exposed. In football, however, issues can accumulate more gradually over the course of a long season, across multiple competitions such as the Premier League, the FA Cup, the League Cup, and European tournaments. Ferrari also has the unique characteristic of being a constructor. It designs, develops, and builds its own Formula One car entirely in-house, maintaining complete control over its destiny. Manchester United, in contrast, depends on the transfer market and recruitment of players, where choices can be influenced by agents, market availability, and financial competition from other clubs. This adds a layer of complexity that is different from Formula One. Still, the comparison holds true when examining their crises. Both Ferrari and Manchester United are giants of sport, desperately trying to climb back to the summit, burdened by internal errors, extreme expectations, and the challenges of adapting to modern competitive contexts. Their resilience, however, is guaranteed by their legendary reputations. Even in the darkest and most disappointing moments, Ferrari remains the benchmark and symbol of Formula One for fans and rivals alike, while Manchester United continues to stand as one of the defining names in world football, respected by opponents and cherished by supporters.